Senator Whitehouse has joined us, and we're happy that he's here. Sheldon, please go right ahead.
Thanks. Let me first ask a question of Mayor Romero. I visited your sister city, Phoenix, not long ago, and was told by the emergency management city director that they were having to redo the staffing for all of their first responders to deal with the problem of operating in extreme heat environments, that you needed to have more people available so you could rotate somebody through a fire or a crash site or whatever it was much more rapidly. In addition to the additional personnel required for that, they also had to have cooling crews ready to deploy when people were becoming overheated and needed overheating first aid. Are you seeing that in your city as well?
Excellent question, Senator. Thank you. Climate change in Arizona is not, it's not as tangible as we see in other places like hurricanes and flooding. But what climate change is doing to our state is that we are living we're in the 22nd year of a drought. We are concerned about our water supply through the Colorado River, and we are experiencing more days, 100-plus degree weather throughout the state. In Tucson, the way we are addressing climate change is through acting. We're putting together a climate action plan, working with the community to put it together. But we also need federal funds to be able to support the plans that we have as cities in order to protect our residents from climate change. We are seeing 100-plus 100-degree days more and more throughout Arizona. We are experiencing wildfires that are increasingly coming closer to our urban cores. We are seeing more asthma and especially seniors dying from heat-related illnesses. And our workers, I would say our first responders, our construction workers, people that have to work outside are at greater risks of heat exhaustion in our state. So,
particularly when they have to wear protective gear to accomplish their mission successfully.
They do, or have less hours of work.
Yeah.
We would have to change the way we deliver services as
thank
cities,
you.
and
Let
that's
me
very
stop
expensive.
you there so that I can ask Secretary Majewski a question. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
On the subject of planning, as the mayor mentioned, Rhode Island, like Delaware, is a coastal state, and we are facing basically having to redraw our coastline with current sea level rise projections. You mentioned $1 billion in infrastructure just in Delaware alone at risk. Could you let me know how much of that you think is related to sea level rise risk? And if you could also comment on the need for planning in local communities who don't necessarily have the skill set to plan ahead, the tax-based problems they're required to confront when they do that planning and have to concede that things are going to be quite different, and the difference between wreck and repair versus plan and protect strategies and the additional expense that creates up front for our coastal communities.
Yeah. No, we are seeing the direct impacts of sea level rise and climate change. It is real in our state. We have about 250 miles of roadway that is overtopped with water pretty much year-round on sunny days, and a lot of that is due to the tidal flooding that we're seeing. So it's not just those strong storm effects, it is everyday flooding that we're seeing on sunny days. So we are kind of doing a two-prong approach here. We have now, with the federal funding, we're able to kind of do studying. We just launched the SR1 Coastal Resiliency Study actually last night, where we're looking at the entire Route 1 corridor from the beaches to the Maryland line. And because that stretch of roadway not only has the ocean, but it has the bay. So it is very vulnerable. And so we're looking at long-range planning, what we can do there. We're also partnering with the local universities on different material types and different things that we can be doing. We have a lot of our local small communities that are impacted by this flooding as well. And so that planning and coordination with these local communities. We have a road in Bowers Beach, it's South Bowers. There are 30 homes. They have one way in and one way out, and it is overtopped with water almost every single day. So we're going to be using some experimental pavement, some pervious pavement, so that we can see if that works, so we can help this community. So all of those things, it's going to take a lot of efforts for us. We're partnering, as I mentioned, with the universities on doing roadway flooding sensors so that we can have better communication with our first responders and our school districts as well. So lots of planning coordination, trying different material, trying to be innovative to protect the existing roadway that we have. But as we're planning these future projects, taking sea level rise into account as to what the road design is, what elevation should it be, and then protecting and working with those local communities is critical.
Thank you very much. If I could just mention one other thing, it's not a question, but we just got an $82 million grant for the bridge that connects Aquidneck Island with the mainland through Jamestown. It's called the Pell Bridge, after our former colleague, Senator Claiborne Pell. And with climate change and with changes in humidity and temperature, there is more intrusion of moisture into the cabling and structure of the bridge. So both that bridge and the Mount Hope Bridge between Aquidneck Island, Portsmouth, and Bristol, we're having to put in very expensive repairs to protect those bridges to dehumidify the inside of the bridge. That was not something we had to think about a few years ago. So it's beyond just coastal flooding. Even things that look like really strong, fixed, stable, iconic pieces of infrastructure are affected. And thank goodness we got the biggest grant to Rhode Island transportation in Rhode Island history to help with that problem. Thank you.
Yeah.